Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
Hey everybody, this is Amy. Welcome to Fresh Take from What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. Today I'm talking to Erin and Stephen Mitchell. They are the co-founders of Couples Counseling for Parents, a company focused on providing access to research-informed, psychologically sound online education for couples. Stephen has a PhD in medical family therapy. Erin has a master's degree in counseling psychology. Together they have a combined 23 years of experience providing counseling and education. Guess what? They've also been married for 16 years and have 3 kids. Welcome, Erin and Stephen.
Thank you so much. That's a lot to say. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
I love that you are experts both in your training and in your lived experience.
It is a little different.
I feel like this will be particularly helpful. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We were actually just sitting outside last night talking about our expertise and our lived experience. And I don't know if we really felt like experts. Just there's a lot of challenges and a lot of beauty in being parents, for sure.
Your fellow travelers in this trying to fight less and be more productive when we do have conflict.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We fight more after kids. That seems to be like what happened to the people we used to be. We used to get along so well, and then something happened along the way. What happens along the way?
Well, I think one thing is things become very important. I think, one of the things that I guess a lot of people think about, at least Erin and I thought about, is we wanted to, for us, we wanted to get married. We wanted to have kids. We wanted to build a family. And oftentimes when we look at having kids, we look at our own experience as kids and we say, you know what? I either want to repeat that experience or I want to correct that experience. And so it becomes...
I think the other thing is partners we do is we look at our partner's experience and say, I either want to repeat some of those experiences or I would like to correct those experiences you had. And then we start being pretty hyper aware of that.
Because we want to do our best. We want to give our kids our best. And so it just, this role, this responsibility, everything feels so important.
Mm-hmm. And then I think capacity, right? So like the classic example we've used forever, he was tired of it the second time I said it, but he will never, ever stop hearing it, is he used to leave this glass on our windowsill like every single night before we had kids. It was like his glass and he would just leave it there. And then in the morning, I would just take it to the sink and it didn't bother me. Well, we had exactly one child before I was like, and you know what? I feel disrespected by that glass. And if you leave that glass, and like, whoa, my capacity was very different.
Yeah, more stress.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think both of those things.
Yeah.
Probably in equal measure, depending on the day.
You defined stress in this book in a way that was so clear to me, and I'd never heard it explained this way before, that it's heightened energy that comes from handling something new, unexpected. That's what stress is. And I thought, right, that's your heart rate goes up when you're making something new for dinner and the people are sitting there waiting and it's not done. It's new, it's heightened energy. And then the thing about being a parent is it's heightened energy in response to something new and challenging all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And I think the thing about stress is it's not necessarily negative. Like heightened energy can be because you're excited. It can be because you're frustrated. I think a lot of times we think of stress in this really negative way, but really it's just a state. And I love the example of like, I'm cooking something new for dinner and everyone's there and I hope they like it. Like, that's not bad, right? I mean, that could go off great. What you make could be wonderful and people could love it. And that stress could turn to excitement and enjoyment and a feeling of accomplishment. And so I think that parenting is just this constant opportunity to manage and engage with this heightened energy. And I think one of the things with the energy too is it's the intensity. I think that sometimes there's intensity to this heightened energy. And I think that can be challenging for us individually. Like, how do we deal with the intensity of feeling or of change, those kinds of things?
Did you just say the intensity of feeling?
Yeah.
I thought you did, but yeah. Because I think to your point, Amy, Stephen doesn't really that stress of having people over for dinner and it's something new and I'm not entirely sure how long it's going to take. And what if it doesn't really turn out? That thrills Stephen. He is excited. Sure. Yeah. He's like cracking jokes about it. And I'm like hot sweating in the kitchen. Like, why did we have people over? I wish they would go home. I'm actually feeling
just
sick.
Order out.
Yes.
Just let's cancel.
And I don't enjoy that. It puts me in a very like a threatened state. And I know that that's a big word to use, but I do feel very protective of and sensitive, and where I would go elevate to don't make me mad right now. I am not in a good spot.
And so partners feel different things as stressful, positively or negatively. And oftentimes that's where some of the miscommunication gets is, well, I'm not stressed by that, but I am. And I need you to understand. I need you to be here. I need you to pick up that glass. Like, seriously, get the glass off the windowsill, Stephen, like, because that adds to my stress in a way that feels different to me than you. And oftentimes there is conflict just about trying to navigate this change, this heightened energy, and what that is, the difference that is for couples.
So say you're in the heightened stress situation of your baby's not sleeping. You're not getting enough sleep. You're kind of in a dysregulated state all the time, right? Sleep deprived stress. This baby's never going to sleep. I'm terrible at this. And then your spouse leaves the water glass on the windowsill and like you're dysregulated. And so you're turned up. And then your spouse, it would be nice if your parenting partner, your spouse could see that as like, oh, they're just really having a hard time right now because it's really about feeling insecure about parenting and the baby. But instead, what happens if they blow up at you about the water on the windowsill? And then if you're the receiving partner, how does that come across?
Well, I think sometimes how it can come across is it feels very personal. And it feels like you left your glass there. And then you know what else you left? And then you know what else? You know how else you're not supporting me? You never do this. And I'm always having to, and you can insert anything.
He's speaking hypothetically. I would never have said any of those.
That's what we always do in this podcast. Never personal examples.
Right.
This is coming from my imagination. You don't help with the laundry, or you know what? You never help put the baby to sleep. You know what? You don't clean the kitchen. You know what? Like, you're gone at work all the time. And it just it's this cascade of personal things. It can feel very overwhelming, I think, for the person hearing it, but also it gets confusing for both partners because that's not what we're really talking about, but that begins to be what we talk about. Because then my response is, what do you mean I don't, ever do that? I did the laundry yesterday. I mean, look, there's 2 baskets of laundry folded right here. And when, you know what you didn't do. And then you kind of get in this competitive match of who's doing more, who's having a harder time, who's more tired, who's more overwhelmed. And you've missed really that real tender, vulnerable place that Erin might be feeling, which is, I'm just so tired and I just want some support. And I just, sometimes when I'm putting our kid to sleep at night, I feel lonely and overwhelmed. But we're arguing about how many times I did laundry compared to how many times you did laundry.
I think that activated place doesn't mean to, but it also kind of means to invite the partner's activated state. Because what we are doing when we are activated is we are looking for an invitation. I'm hoping Stephen, and not obviously all of this is buried way, way, way down.
Very
no one knows they're doing
very
it.
Subconscious. Yeah, we're not.
I'm hoping that Stephen's going to be able to see what I mean. Like, if I say, you're so entitled and all you do is make this harder for me.
Again, this has never been said. This is just
yes, right.
Yeah.
Right. No. But like really and truly, my hope is that he'll be like, oh my goodness, she is feeling so sad. She is overwhelmed. And this one thing did feel like 1,000. That's really what I'm hoping for. Of course, that's not all what I typically say. And my activation invites activation. So, and I think people do that in really one of two ways, which is to go up and match or to go down and withdraw. And suddenly you have like, you're right. I never help. You're right. And then they go away. They don't
just
they don't engage
right.
at all.
Right.
Or like, hey, why do you have to make everything such a big deal? This is just a glass on a window. I'll get it. Like, man. And then you get these, you're so emotional, you're so like, oh, and then the other partner is like, I'm emotional. Well, at least I have emotions. You're a robot. You don't talk about anything. And then again, if you notice, like we've gotten into this very personal, there's this blame, there's this defensiveness, there's this criticism, there's this, and it really mucks up the whole thing at the end of the day.
And then you said in the book, this was really eye-opening to me, the relationship itself eventually becomes the source of stress, or at least is seen as the source of stress.
Absolutely. It does. All that has to happen at this point. And this can be so we can still be talking about the new parents with the new baby, but this just stacks up. So we could easily now have the family who's got the elementary
age kids
or the teenager.
Moving into tween, yeah.
Because if this isn't addressed, really that glass on the windowsill can be anything now. And all that has to happen is that person walks into the room and your nervous system, like really on a nervous system level, not even on purpose, it's just like it's prepared. It is primed to say, this, I know where this is going. I know what doesn't really matter what you say. You and I both know where this is going. And it's either to that heightened spot where we're just picking at each other, or to that, like, it's better if we don't do that, especially if we happen to have a couple kids at the dinner table, and say nothing.
Yeah. Let's just not interact.
And that's that point at which you become too tired to fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
But I think we hear so many couples come in and they're like, you know what? Like, all of a sudden, we can't communicate. We can't connect. We don't feel close anymore because this shift has happened. The relationship has begun to feel threatening. And then you hear these really heartbreaking comments of like, maybe we made a mistake. Maybe we just shouldn't have been together. Maybe we just can't handle this. And I think that for us, that feels so sad because it's like, no. It's not that you made a mistake or that you're not compatible enough. It's
or that you have to resign to just the nothing you feel like, well, we can't work it out. So, I mean, we don't have to get divorced. We don't have to break up, but like, this is who we are now. We just are sort of like,
I just don't expect
good
things.
Teammates.
Yeah. I don't expect to be fulfilled or to have you understand me. Like, that's just not what you get in relationships when you have kids and things like that. And it's like, if couples can understand how this shift takes place, and then learn to have a language around when it's happening, you can feel so much more connected. You don't have to resign yourself to a relationship, purgatory. And it's just in some ways, it feels like just this little thing. It's hard to do from the standpoint of because we are stressed, and that's hard. Stressed people communicate in stressed ways. But it is a simple perspective that I think that if couples can understand and know, things won't stack up and their relationships can be rich and deep and loving and connected. And I think that's the whole point.
Conflict free. We are not, we would never promote that.
Well, it's not possible.
Yeah. And honestly, how boring if Stephen and I thought exactly all the same things all the time. But that conflict doesn't have to lead to me feeling like, oh, well, this is going to be dead end. Either we end up fighting or we end up not speaking. But, oh, wait, we can talk about this. We can probably still come out feeling differently about it. I mean, almost guaranteed.
Sure.
But that can be a connective experience for us, one where we now see it as like, oh, I can't wait to talk to you about this. Or I'm actually not excited to talk to you about this, but I have a lot of hope that it could still go okay, that we could still end up being able to talk about it. And like, you'll hear me. I'll be able to say what I actually mean and not the mean thing I wish I wouldn't want to say, but do.
Yeah, you'll be able to look at that glass on the windowsill. And granted, like...
There are no more glasses on the window.
Yeah, there are not.
We have that. That's the egg pan on this podcast. Anybody who listens to this podcast knows about the egg pan left behind on the stovetop every morning. But it stands in for something else, doesn't it?
Yes, but it's the same thing. And Erin can be like, Stephen, your glass is on the windowsill. We've talked about this. We've talked about what that means. It means that I'm overwhelmed. And when you leave it there, it makes me feel like you're leaving all the work to me. I know you do a lot. I know that that's not, 100, but this makes me feel like you're leaving it all to me. And when I'm sitting here putting our kids to sleep at night, when I'm feeling like I'm doing everything and you're sitting here and that glass is there, it just makes me feel lonely. And I can be like, oh, yes, I got it. We've had this conversation. I know what that means. I wasn't thinking about it. I am sorry that I left that there. I've got it. There can just be a different way to talk. It doesn't have to be. And some people are like, no, people don't talk like that. There's no way, that's not how couples talk. I'm like, no, they don't initially, but it's a skill to learn. So why don't you learn it and your relationship can be better? That's the proposal.
All right. I'm talking to Erin and Stephen Mitchell. They are the co-authors of Too Tired to Fight. We're going to talk about better conflict after this break. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE. So Erin and Stephen, you talk about the conflict to connection equation in this book. And I guess before we get into that, I wanted to talk about that conflict is actually sort of a bid for connection, you suggest. That you never, you always is really, I have a need that's not being met, and I wish you would hear what I'm not saying instead of what I am saying. And so that's really what conflict is.
Yeah, exactly. I think another way we talk about it is conflict just simply indicates that something is important. And you're trying to tell your partner, hey, here's this really important thing to me. Now, we're not, you may be coming at it at the wrong angle with the wrong language, maybe not perfectly, but you're just trying to say, I'm trying to tell you something important about myself, period.
That's such a neutral way to look at it. Like, that's so helpful.
And honestly, I think that what Stephen just said right there is like our first sort of tip, like a takeaway. If you say nothing else different ever in your life, start your conflicts saying that. I would like to tell you something important. And then this sort of flows right into the conflict to connection equation, because typically couples, the person trying to communicate that doesn't really know that. They aren't even always aware of that. Sure. When they're bringing up the egg pan or the glass on the windowsill. They're just mad. So you're just like leading with that. And you think you're saying, I'm trying to tell you something important. You're not. And usually it comes out as some kind of criticism or blame or something like that. Or even if you're trying to be a good communicator, which is better, you'll say, I'm really angry about this glass. That is more information, but that is still not the core of the information you're hoping your partner gets. If that's all they walk away with is Erin was mad about the glass, I don't actually feel more known by that. That's not all that helpful to me. So like, what am I actually hoping Stephen is hearing me say about this? Like, when you leave your glass there, it does feel entitled. It feels like you think your day is more important than starting my day in a deficit. And I get that it's just a glass, but these little micro things are happening all day long to me. And maybe not even just from Stephen.
Right.
But I can't have you being one of these people that feels like they're taking from me, taking my time, taking my energy. Like, you cannot be in that group of people. I need you to be in the sort of column of like, I'm with you. Like, I'm looking around like, what will make Erin's day easier?
Yeah.
Like, and being that. And that's what I want to.
And that's like level 5 important stuff. I mean, that is important. And that is what the initiation of conflict is often about. And I think in a reciprocal way, if you never say anything else and you're the partner listening, if you feel that energy, if you feel that heightened energy from your partner, a very simple thing you can say is, you know what? I feel like you're trying to tell me something really important. I want to try and understand.
You can't be mad when you hear that. I'm blown away by this suggestion.
You'll start off much better because, again, partners care about each other. If your partner came and said, hey, this is really important to me, generally, most partners are going to be like, okay, like what? Let's hear it. I care about you. If what's important to you, I want it to be important to me, or at least I want to understand it. It just already, it helps drop the energy to a balanced place where you can try and interact. And ultimately, that is what the conflict to connection equation is all about, trying to help partners have the language to say, this is important to me. And the other partner say, this seems important to you. I want to hear about it. Tell me.
People think they should know how to do this. And we will sign our names first on top of the list of people who thought we would be able to talk once we had kids.
We had all these degrees and
those degrees,
stuff that
most of them didn't happen after. Yes. Exactly.
We're pretty
good. Arrogance was very thin.
We're pretty good at relationships, everyone. Just watch. Here we go.
And then I don't know how to say anything other than you're making this harder. Like, everything you're doing is making my life worse. Stop doing that. And that's kind of where it stopped for a while.
Or to be defensive, and that accusation, defensive, that kind of pattern, we so easily fell into it. And we were like, what in the world? We know better than this, but it was, you just felt compelled to do it on some level.
Yeah. So this equation really is to try to be step 1. This is how you figure out what that thing is that you're wishing your partner would know. Because I sincerely believe, and Stephen thinks I'm a little bit doe-eyed about this, I think, but that if I knew what I was hoping Stephen would understand at the end of our conflict, I would lead with that. It's not like I'm trying to bury that.
Yeah.
And I sincerely believe that if I led with that, but they don't. I don't look at that glass and think, I'm feeling alone in our relationship. That's not how it comes. It's just, how it comes is all of a sudden I'm hot. My body is tense. I'm probably clenching my fists a little and I'm mad. And I want Stephen to know I'm mad. And I want him to know that he's responsible for making me feel mad. What will that accomplish? I haven't gotten that far yet. That's the reaction.
And so in our mindset, communication is a skill.
Yes.
And it's a skill that you can learn, that you have to practice, and that requires intention. And so like when we talk about this conflict to connection equation, we talk about there's intentional expressing and there's intentional listening. Mm-hmm. And if both of the partners, and we also understand like communication is a circular process. So there is a process where you're both intentionally trying to express and you're both trying to listen at the same time. But when you're trying to describe a process, you do have to make it a little linear, even though it's circular. So, but if there's intentional expressing and there's intentional listening, you'll end up in this place where conflict will be connective. And there's steps within each of those processes for couples. And those are the steps that we talk about in the book and say, like, these are the things you can learn. You can learn this process of intentional expressing, this process of intentional listening. And that's what you're practicing. Then we try to lay out, here's 13 fights you're going to have. This is what it might look like to practice that.
So the book goes through, it has chapters on each of the 13 most common conflicts. I mean, you could probably guess what they are if you're listening to this episode right now, but how did you compile the lists? Was it an internet search? Was it based on clients that you've worked with? How did you figure out these are the most common?
Internet search. Stephen and I are so not tech savvy. I'm like, wow, that's a great idea.
Like, oh, there's an internet?
Available to people.
You can search stuff on the internet?
Did you have that thought
on
too?
On the World Wide Web? Is that the same thing? Yeah.
It was the couples that we've worked with. And then we do have a social media. So we post about these things too. Yeah. So we'll say. Like,
honestly, it felt like from, yes, the couples you work with, but again, the affirmation I really felt came from these thousands and thousands and thousands of couples who are like, that. Yes, this.
Right.
Yes, we have this same conflict. Yeah. And so we kind of compiled all of our interactions with our community and with our own work. And these were the 13 things that emerged.
And then some of them we sort of generalized because you're fighting about the egg pan. We're fighting about the windowsill. Another person's fighting about bagels. But it's the same. That is the same core fight. So like trying to sort of generalize. And then we just picked an example.
Yeah. But it really came, I think, just from the voice of other couples that we interact with.
Yeah, it's definitely not anything we've gone through.
Oh, again. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I was like, oh, people fight about this. Like, oh, okay, I guess, we'll have to try to figure out what that's like.
And so but this is what the work of couples therapy is, I think, often is the couple bringing the conflict to a session. The therapist helps them in real time engage in what hopefully is something like this, right? Communicating more effectively, listening better. So this book is an incredible resource if you don't have access to that kind of support. Is this something that you can take on for yourself? Can you read this book and sort of say, I'm going to practice more intentional expression without your partner either buying in or even knowing about the process? Or is this something like, we're going to read this book, we're going to try this?
We get asked this question all the time because I think oftentimes couples do find themselves in this mismatched place. At times, one partner is really feeling the need to shift something, to grow.
Us. If we've been married 16 and a half years now, and
you're just going to make it personal.
Yes, I certainly will.
I don't know if I was ready for you to share my personal information.
Every single time that we have gone to see a counselor or a therapist is because I've initiated, like, we are not doing what we say we want to be doing. We are not communicating like we want. Or this is a really stressful life situation coming up. Let's be proactive. Let's not why don't we not wait until we're 6 months feeling terrible and just get on board with this? And every single time Stephen says, what?
Nah, I think we're all right.
100%. Never, ever, ever, ever once has that not been how he approaches it.
Yeah,
We're like,
that's true.
you just have to get through it. You just got to get through it. And never, ever once have I not responded to that. I would love to get through it and not feel like I further hate you. Like, or we could do that.
Right.
And so it goes back and forth. But no, I think to your question, absolutely, you can do this on your own. I think that's the first part that gets lost in communication is yourself. If I knew what I was wanting to say, I would say it. I'm not looking for bad communication. And so we do lose access to that. So 100% you can read this on your own.
Well, and we also, like, you can't wait for your partner to grow. If you're desiring to grow, then you should grow. And you can extend the invitation to your partner. You can ask them to join you and come along for the ride. And ultimately, I really do think that generally partners respond eventually to that. I mean, yes. So Erin has always said that we should do this. And I've said no. But ultimately, I'm like, okay, like, what do we need to do? I want to grow with Erin. And maybe we have different ways of approaching how we do that. But I also think one of the things that why this book is useful is because we recognize that not everyone feels like their relationship is in this place where they need to go see a professional, a licensed therapist or something like that, or there's stigma there, or there's just a feeling of like, oh, we don't do that. And so our goal really is to present all of this rich, deep, psychologically sound, research-informed information about relationships in an educational way, in an accessible way, in a way that's not like
you're broken,
deep psychotherapy. You know, it's education, it's facilitation, it's coaching, it's like skill building. It's like, you know what, like we can help you be a better team. This book can help you be a better team. If I read this book by myself, it'll help me be a better teammate, that kind of thing. And I know that that's still hard. Like you still want your partner to come along with you, and that can feel hurtful. Like if they're like, not interested. But I do think that if you begin to grow, it's an invitation for your partner to begin to grow too. And usually partners want to keep up with each other in that realm, I think.
I'm talking to Erin and Stephen Mitchell. Their book is called Too Tired to Fight. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the importance of repair.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about. Like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
So let's talk about the importance of repair, because when you have sort of that low grade, you always, you never sort of conflict, speaking from complete lack of personal experience, right? It's like, well, rah, rah, and then it's just sort of a return to neutral, like, and you think to yourself, like, okay, maybe I overreacted a little bit, but I am really mad about that egg pan, but okay. And you sort of rationalize it to yourself, and you don't follow up about it because you don't want to extend the conflict. I think most of the time it's like, I'm not going to talk about the egg pan more now. And so you just sort of like let it slide, and you come back to a, semi-comfortable neutral. But that's not repair. And I guess sometimes I think the really big fights are the ones that need repair, not the little, I raised my voice and then you raised your voice. But is repair important for all of those conflicts?
So I do think repair is always important, I guess, if I'm being honest, because I wasn't being honest before. Yes, I do think it is. I do think that there are moments, though, too, like I think to your point, like you don't have to address everything all the time. I think that some things can go by the wayside, but I think this is how you know. This is how you know which one you want to pick. I think that if you sit there and you still feel a lot of energy about what has happened, and you could get upset about it again, if you told yourself that story again about the egg pan and like, oh yeah, and all of that energy comes back, I think you probably do need to seek some level of resolution, some sense of repair in that argument. What would you say? You're looking 100%. At me like, I don't think I agree with that.
No, I do. I just think that the way, and this is one of those learned things again. And I think that couples have to somewhat navigate this on their own. But I think when couples think about repair or even think about communication or conflict, it feels like this really formal, intense, sit down, face-to-face conversation.
I'd like to enter into a moment of repair with you.
Yes.
May we sit down?
Yes. And I think...
Yes.
Yes, exactly. I would rather at that point. Yeah. And so I think and I do think that there are some couples who are firmly and unfortunately quite deep ruts of some really negative interactions. And that does take some serious work to get out of. But I think serious doesn't have to mean a lack of playfulness. So I'm thinking of yesterday, our kids and I and our dog were taking a walk and Stephen had a session. And so we're in the driveway and Stephen makes this super snappy comment. He woke up early, was working. He'd been pretty engaged all day.
A little
stressed. And he was like, hey, Erin, you thinking about returning any of the emails today? And then goes on with his way. I walk with our kids.
I mean, that's an invitation, right? That's a really kind thing to say.
He said, Erin, I have something important to share.
Right. Really intentional expression there.
Letting you know where I'm at. Where are you at? That's what I meant. Yeah.
And so we finish our walk. We come back. I hear Stephen's finished with this session. Stephen can drink. He has like a bottomless mug of coffee. He does. I have 2 cups of coffee every day. Stephen has 700.
As many as are available.
I can hear that he's free. I make him a cup of coffee. I come downstairs. I gently set it on the desk and I said, I forgive you for the things you said when you were stressed. And he looks up. He was like, it was pretty mean. And I was like, it was mean. And he was like, I know. I'm so sorry. And that was it. But I was mad. But I also knew he was really stressed. I knew that he woke up early and I knew that he had been doing 3 hours of work. I hadn't.
And I was upset about the email deal and that Erin wasn't returning emails. But I think I also knew what I said was completely from that heightened place of energy.
My point is even that wasn't perfect, but it doesn't have to be so serious.
But it was over too.
It was super over. I needed to address you were so mean and that wasn't okay. And I knew he would hear that.
And so, and this is the key part to repair, because I think that this is what has to happen. So what Erin did is she came in and she expressed to me what it felt like, that she was upset, that she didn't like that in some way our connection had been broken because of how I'd responded to her.
Now, if this was the first time we'd ever had this fight, it wouldn't have been okay, even how I brought that back up, because that was equally as passive. Oh, Stephen, such a jerk.
But we have navigated this fight a couple of times. So we're kind of...
It's like, I see what you saw and you know that I know that I know that you know that.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And it's like, you're right, I'm right. Great conversation over goodbye.
Well, and this is the beautiful thing is as you learn to have a process for talking about conflict in this way, you get a language as a couple. And this is our language. This is how we do things. And so Erin is expressing, this is what it felt like. Now, it's very important in repair. You have to validate and acknowledge that expression. So Erin was saying hey, I forgive you for what you said because I didn't really like it. It hurt my feelings. I wish you hadn't said it. That's what was kind of all behind that, right? And I think it's important for me to not say well, you know what? If you just sent the emails, then we wouldn't have had a problem. Well, that's not going to work. But I recognize you know what? It was mean, wasn't it?
It was also true.
That's that validation and that acceptance. And then there's that accountability that says, you know what? I'm sorry. I said that. I shouldn't have said it that way. That's really all repair takes, in those little brief moments. But I do think when you're not practiced in it, when you're not well versed in it, I'm not saying we're professionals in it at all. I'm just saying we've had that fight so many times.
We are literally professionals in it.
Well, in messing up and needing to repair. But that's what can feel laborious to couples, I think, initially is like, oh man, we've got to go through this process of like figuring out our language, figuring out how we come to these places of repair. And I think it can happen a lot quicker than people think. It really is just understanding some of these fundamental things and then applying them.
Yeah. When you get a couple under your belt, I think, and Stephen and I, we are very jokey. It always diffuses me, always. And we're 16 years married for him to crack a joke. It may not take away the hurt, but it takes me out of my activated state into a place of where I'm like, I am willing to engage you now. I am willing to be a safe person for you again. Try now. But yeah. I think playfulness is a really, really useful tool in these moments of repair. It doesn't have to be, now we sit down and have our root canal. Yay.
Right. Now we rehash everything, right? It's like, we're going to clean out the car today. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that complicated. That makes sense to me. And what about in front of the kids? When you have disagreements in front of the kids, tell us a little bit about like, I think that's to be avoided in the main, but maybe you disagree. And then also to tell us about repair when you've had a disagreement in front of the kids. Do you include them in that, or at least make them witnesses to it? Yeah,
I think that it is very clear that ideally you don't have a lot of conflict in front of your kids. I think there's different levels too. Like obviously, violence in front of your kids is just not good, period. But because kids do pick up on the distress, kids do pick up on the heightened energy.
Mm-hmm. But young, very young. It's researched and it is so much younger than people think. People say that to us all the time. Yeah, but they're so little.
But I do think it is also, so this is a little bit of a paradox. I do think it's really important for your kids to see you and your partner work through things and repair. So ideally, yeah, you're not sitting there arguing in front of your kids. But you know what? Like real life is that happens. And you could become very worried and anxious about the fact that that happens. Or you can say, okay, when it happens, then what is important is that our kids see the arc of us working through things and us coming to a place of repair, and that we somehow can communicate that to the kids. And so I think that that's what I would say is important.
Yeah, I think to be very clear. So the kind of conflict we're talking about in the book and with couples all the time is making it so you can be having this kind of conflict at the dinner table. It is respectful. If I'm just sharing something about myself, there's nothing wrong with that. If I am coming at Stephen and saying you're a selfish, entitled human and all you do is think of yourself, that's not good for our kids to hear. That they love him. They identify with him. They think that they're just like him. So we don't want to be saying things like that. So I think it's like, well, how are you having conflict right now? Is it kind? And that's honestly a good rubric. Is this something I would want my kids to hear? If not, you probably shouldn't be saying it. Like, what do you really mean to be saying? And so if we're having like really intentional conversations about things that are conflicted, that's okay. Your kids are bored. They don't want to hear it. So you can keep it short.
Well, our kids have even come up to us before and been like, hey, mom and dad, are y'all fighting?
Yeah.
And I think our general response is, you know what? We are like, we're having a hard time being on the same page. But one of the things we say is, but we're going to figure it out.
Yep.
And we will. You've seen this happen before. You've seen us figure it out before. We're just right now, we're trying to work to figure it out. And then we do figure it out, and we can come back to our kids and be like, hey, we want to let you know we figured it out. Or we might even ask them like, hey, do mom and dad feel different now? And they'll think about it and they'll be like, yeah. And we're like, yeah, it's because we figured things out. The energy has shifted, because really that's what kids are responding to, is sort of that embodied, implicit knowing that happens when there's those energy shifts, the rise and falls. And so I think that kind of stuff is actually really helpful, because you're going to get in conflict with your kids too. Like, you got teenage kids. Have you ever had an argument with your teenage kid?
Nope, never.
Yeah,
Us either.
And they need to know I'm having a conflict with someone that I have seen work things out. They work it out with my other parent. Yeah. They can work it out with me. We can work this out. And I think that is really useful.
So Erin and Stephen, tell us about couples counseling for parents.
it was really born out of our desire to offer the help to couples that we wish we had had when we first entered into this parenting journey and as we've continued into it. And so we truly believe that you can have a beautiful, thriving couple relationship in the midst of the stress of parenting. What you need, though, is help because it's challenging and you need skill development and you need that intentionality. And so our whole goal in our business is to offer those research-informed, psychologically sound skills and practices and education that will help couples know how can we communicate? How can we have conflict that leads us to connection? And that's really the whole point of who and what we are. And so we have a podcast, we have this book, we have a bunch of online education. We meet with couples as a couple as well. And our whole goal is to help couples feel like they can have a strong relationship in the midst of this beautifully stressful, chaotic thing called parenting.
I do think that like one of the things we hear from couples over and over and over and over and over is that they thought that there was something wrong with them. Like if we're having this much conflict or if things feel this intense, there must be something wrong. And it's just not. There's nothing wrong with you. It is just a brand new context. Yeah. And you can talk about it. Talking about it should make it better. And if it's not, it means learn a new skill. That's okay. We were the same way and we knew a lot of skills. Yeah. And it's just really different. It is all really different. And we do have to figure out how to find ourselves in the midst of it, because that's, like I said earlier, that's what's hard to find access to. I'm very attuned to a lot of people in my house, and very often I am low on that list. And so I don't know what that is. And that is the practice and the work of, okay, well, let's figure that out. Let's find that place so we can talk about that.
Right. And being mutually supportive as partners and exploring that and showing curiosity. Like, okay, what are you trying to say? Like, what is the deeper thing there? What am I trying to say? What is the deeper thing there?
In our book and our podcast, I hope in our time with you and our work with couples, it also doesn't have to be that, this is the wrong word, but it's also the right word, serious. It is okay. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to come in and make the funny joke. It's okay to be like, you are so lucky to be married to me.
I am.
I must be so easy to be married to. Like, and because that's true. Any of us could say that. Any of us could say like, man, it would be hard to be married to me. And I think that can be the connection point. Like, I didn't handle that well. I really didn't. And I don't have to try to defend that I did. I know I didn't. And that's okay. And so I just think I want couples to know it is serious stuff. And it is really important. Yeah. And you can be really playful with it and find real connection pretty fast.
This was a great conversation. Erin and Stephen Mitchell are the co-authors of Too Tired to Fight, and their company is called Couples Counseling for Parents. I'm going to link to the book, Couples Counseling, and your podcast in the show notes so our listeners can find all of it. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you so much for having us. It was really fun.
Yes, thanks a lot.